Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. On Friday night, there was an unveiling of the Department of Defense's newest bomber. It's B-21 Raider. It's the state-of-the-art bomber that they unveiled on Friday night in Palmdale, California. In this event, there was all these people gathered in front of this hangar, and then the hangar door opened up, and you could see this big jet bomber, aircraft bomber behind it. And it was a big deal. You had different people stepping out. There was the talk about it. The Navy Admiral Christopher Grady came up. He's the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He talked about it, and then after he talked about it, the Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin III talked about it. And the stuff they were saying, it's all pretty much. To me, it's the stuff you would expect at something like this. It's nobody's fault. It's just boring banter, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, there's nothing, it's prepared speeches with big words and patriotic type talk, and that's fine. Basically, this here was a quote from the Secretary of Defense. Lloyd Austin said, "It's a testament to America's enduring advantages in ingenuity and innovation, and it's proof of the department's long-term commitment to building advanced capabilities that will fortify America's ability to deter aggression today and into the future." Now, we don't know all the details of this bomber. It was developed over a 7-year period by weapons manufacturer Northrop Grumman. What I heard, these guys were talking, I really wasn't hearing that. What I was, the visuals created different words in my brain. And those visuals, what I heard was, "Hey, you see this thing back here? Now look we're the United States of America. You screw with us, you're in trouble. So just watch out. Be careful. We'll kick your damn ass." That's basically what I was seeing, We were basically telling our enemies of the world, hey, don't screw with us, because we got this kind of stuff now. And believe me, you don't have this kind of stuff, and you better watch it. That's what I was seeing. There's a couple different ways to look at these kind of things, and that's the way I looked at it. It was basically telling the rest of the world, hey, look out, we're the United States of America. And that's what it was, And at the same time, it's telling the citizens of the United States of America, hey, you see this thing back here? Don't worry about a thing. We got this covered. Sleep easy tonight. So that's basically what was being. The visuals created those kind of words in my brain. But when I was sitting there looking at this, and I'm wondering, what, really, is any of this technology, right? Was employed in the creation of this new bomber, right? We don't really know what it can do. They're not going to tell. They can't tell. I mean, what would be the point in making something like this and telling you all the ins and outs of it? Now we do know that it's, it could use all kinds of different. It could use regular bombs, and it could shoot out nuclear bombs. I mean, it could do everything, right? These things, you have some of these aircraft, they could hover in place, and but this thing has wings. It's not a flying saucer or anything like that. At the same time, though, you wonder if Northrop Grumman, who developed this for the Department of Defense, were they inspired by anything from recovered alien spacecraft? Is anything in these new bombers that we're making? Is there anything in there that was actually inspired from things that we recovered from other planets? Crashed spacecraft. That's what I was wondering, and I'm sure that there is. I mean, because I am sure that there are definitely, most certainly, these weapons manufacturers. Northrop Grumman, who made this, or any of them, Lockheed. I'm sure that there are people from those private defense contracting companies. Within those companies, there are most certainly people who know the truth about the extraterrestrial presence and have been given this materials from these crashed or recovered craft, whatever we have. And I'm sure that some of that, whatever they were able to gather out of these any kind of information they gathered out of there, I'm sure that some of this information was applied in the creation of some of these newer bombers like this. I'm almost, it's certain. There has to be. And anyway, I guess the point is like you wonder, just how much over the years, alien technology has helped us advance technologically, especially with regard to these stealth aircraft like this B-21 Raider. I'm just going to read a little bit from this Air Force website, the Department of Defense website. And it says here, this is some quotes from Austin, the Secretary of Defense. The B-21 looks imposing, but what's under the frame and the space-age coatings is even more impressive. The range of the B-21, Austin said, is unmatched by any other bomber. It won't need to be based in theater. It won't need logistical support to hold any target at risk, the Secretary said. Like the B-2 Spirit, the B-21 Raider is a stealth aircraft. It will be hard for adversaries to see that it's coming, he said. 50 years of advances in low observable technology have gone into this aircraft, he said. Even the most sophisticated air defense systems will struggle to detect a B-21 in the sky. Austin also said the B-21 Raider is designed to be easily maintainable, which will help ensure that the aircraft is always ready to go when it's needed. We don't really have a capability unless we maintain it, he said. The B-21 is carefully designed to be the most maintainable bomber ever built. So it's a very impressive piece of equipment that they've developed over a 7-year period. But again, I guess I'm curious to know what if any, and I'm sure it's not if any. I'm sure there has to be. I mean, what's the point in this top secret cover up of the alien reality if you're not going to at least try to reverse engineer some of the technology that you recovered? That wouldn't make any sense, right? So I'm sure that there are some things with this that are whether it's in the design or whatever, within the metal that they use. I mean, who knows exactly what, but there is most certainly some alien technology had to inspire some of this. Now, this thing, of course, it's not a flying saucer. It has wings, it has a propulsion system. It has wheels on the bottom that when it lands, it's not like something you would could mistake for a flying saucer, but it is something that will definitely strike fear into the hearts of any enemies that want to screw around with the United States, because so it's imposing looking, to say the least. But again, it's funny. Here we are. It's now what? No, it's December 5th. This was unveiled on December 2nd, and the UFO report we were supposed to receive, it's still not released. We were supposed to have that this new report from the Pentagon on UFOs on the 31st of October, and it is now December 5th, and we're already past the unveiling of the B-21 Raider, and we still don't even have the UFO report that was due to Congress on the 31st of October. And it does seem like a lot of people have been saying the same things that I've been saying on this podcast for a long time now, and that is that they're trying to pull this back. They are most certainly. There's an effort within the Pentagon to reel this back in again. They don't want to really go there. It just seems that way, and I'm not the only one who's feeling this way. I mean, there's. Actually, here's there's a lot of my followers, a lot of the people who subscribe to my YouTube channel, for instance, believe that. Here's just a quote from Ned, who today said this. It says, "I honestly don't think anything will come out of this so-called disclosure. Congress in America, even the president, have no power over these people in these agencies, military-industrial complex. It's a bit of a joke, really. They will not disclose this subject." I actually, that's how I feel right now. It feels like that on Twitter. Here was some comments from Twitter, from some Twitter users, people who talk about UFOs all the time, including Stanford's Gary Nolan. He chimed in here too, but I'll read this first tweet, This was from a user named Unplugged User. He writes, a smear campaign is underway on the UFO/UAP phenomenon. Make no mistake about it, officials within the Department of Defense and Pentagon are working diligently to discredit every shred of evidence, pilot and witness testimony until this topic is buried once more. That's true. I mean, I feels like that with a lot of the articles that are coming out. There's been other articles since that. There was a New York Times article that came out on, I believe it was October 28th or 29th, that basically tried to downplay the entire UFO situation, tried to make it sound like all the stuff in the report. Apparently, some anonymous sources from the Pentagon had contacted the New York Times and said, "Hey, yeah, this stuff in the report. There's 366 objects that we looked at. Half of them we figured out that's either Chinese spy drones or clutter-like balloons, and the rest of it we don't know what the rest of it is, right? But if we had more information, we could assure you we would be able to determine that it's not extraterrestrial." That's what the New York Times article did. And then there's been a lot of other articles from Wall Street Journal and other news outlets since that basically have been trying to downplay the entire UFO situation and basically make it look like it's no big deal and it's nothing to worry about and trying to make people forget about it. That's what it seems like. And I believe that. And there's other people who are saying the same thing. And in response to that tweet, there was another user, Richard Geldreich. He stated, which was a really interesting comment. He states, "They've been doing this for 75 years, so if it makes you feel any better, this is nothing new. The phenomenon refuses to get the memo that it does not exist." And that's a great quote, and actually that quote was actually repeated here by Gary Nolan, the Stanford scientist who is interested in UFOs and is studying some aspects of that, and he repeated that. He said the phenomenon refuses to get the memo that it does not exist, and then he wrote quotable. Yes, it is quotable. It's a very good tweet because that's the truth. The truth is that it's not going to go away, despite what happens, right? Despite what's going on here. And now, apparently, we are moving forward. I mean, we're just a couple of steps away from that 2023 Defense Authorization Act bill from getting approved fully by the House and the Senate, and then the president's supposed to sign it. So that means that bill, once it passes, it includes whistleblower protection. So anyone within the Pentagon that wants to tell Congress about what they know about UFOs, extraterrestrials, they could do that they would receive protection. They won't have to worry about any kind of repercussions because they will have whistleblower protection. That is supposed to pass. But even regardless of any of it, I think that this comment from Twitter, says it all. Basically, it doesn't matter. I mean, they could try to make this thing go away. It's not gonna go. It never goes away. They tried to make it go away numerous times. They tried to make it go away in the early 50s. It failed. Next thing you know, in 1952, what happens? A whole bunch of flying saucers show up over Washington, right? And there was nothing anybody could do about it. And when they sent out fighter planes to check them out, the flying saucers took off. And then later on, the flying saucers come back, and then they take off again. And there's nothing they could have done. There's nothing they could do about it. So they had to start opening up another investigation into it reluctantly. They don't want to have to do that. The military does not want to have any kind of public investigation in the UFOs. That seems to be how they want to operate. That's how they've been wanting to operate for the past 75 years. They don't want anything public, but they feel like they're compelled to do it because people keep seeing the things. Right? They don't go away. It's like the phenomenon doesn't stop just because somebody in the Air Force or the Department of Defense, somebody says, "Oh, well, you know what? We can't find anything. There's nothing to it." Just because they say that doesn't mean it's going to make it go away. And it's always been the case. And then they tried to make it go away in the late 60s, where they hired the University of Colorado to put out that bogus Condon report that determined, there's nothing here of scientific value, so we might as well not look at this anymore. So then the Air Force closes its Project Blue Book. But guess what? UFOs, they didn't stop coming here. They didn't stop showing up. Right? The mystery just got even more involved, more mysterious, actually. You start hearing more about alien abductions, but after that, you started hearing about it before the Project Blue Book closed, but then in the 70s into the 80s, that was a big deal. Alien abduction was something that really started to be talked about more. It was more than just seeing the objects. It was people being forcibly removed, forcibly abducted by these beings. And a lot of just encounters with them too. I mean, it just the thing doesn't go away. And then you have now, in 5 years ago, 2017, it seems like there's a renewed interest in the press and in the mainstream a little bit because of the release of the leaked videos of objects filmed by military personnel. And now it looks like they're trying to force everything back into Pandora's box. It's not going to work. It never has worked. I mean, they can make a go of it, but in the end, it's not going to do anything. It's just not going to help. It's not going to help at all because you can't. It's not going to go away. It's like, oh, they don't believe it. It's like, what do they think the aliens are going to say? You know what? They still don't want to believe us. They're still telling their people that we're not real. I guess we might as well just go away now. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. I'm not going to get into here of all the reasons why I think they're here. I'm not getting into any with this discussion here. I'm not going to get into any theories or speculation about what the aliens are up to. But I'm just talking about how the government and how human beings are handling the situation. Well, some of us are actually, we want to get the truth out there. We want more answers. We want to know what the government knows. Obviously, the government doesn't want to tell us what it knows. They're trying to pretend that nothing's going on again, right? Oh, there's nothing to it, nothing to worry about. Hey, if we did have, if we did know if we had more information about those other objects that we still haven't identified, we could, for sure, there's no way it would be extraterrestrial. I mean, that's preposterous. How can you make a statement like that? But yeah, it's just not going to go away. I mean, I just was talking about recently about how cattle mutilations. I mean, there's cattle 40 cattle mutilations in an area of Colorado just over the past couple of months, right? And there's no explanation for it. There's no signs of any predators. It's not a bacteria that's killing them. There's not a lot of answers. Is it aliens? Are they being mutilated by aliens? Drained of blood by aliens? Is that what's happening? See, it's just not going to go away, no matter how hard they try. And, these things like this, okay, it's great, with what I'm talking about here earlier about this, the new B-21 Raider. Oh, that's great. And maybe maybe it was inspired somewhat by recovered alien technology, but the government's not going to tell us that. But maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. What does it matter? But it's almost like there's a lot of people out there who are both dually. They're interested in the potentiality of an extraterrestrial presence here on Earth. Well, actually, there's no potentiality of it, but some of them are not sure. They're interested in that, and they're also interested in high tech kind of things like this, like the B-21 Raider. There's a lot of people that are really excited about stuff like that. To me, I've said this before. I'm like, okay, pretty neat, but at the same time, to me, it's ho hum. Okay, we have another plane here that could kill people and cause all kinds of destruction and protect us, and that's great, right? It's great, right? But I'm more interested in the extraterrestrial aspect of this thing because, see, of course, as a lot of you know, I've encountered one of these beings and I saw one of their craft up close, right? So I want more information. I'm interested in finding more about that. I'm not as interested in this kind of in the stuff about what kind of new tech is being developed, unless I would be more interested if I was told, hey, we're basing this on some recovered extraterrestrial spacecraft. That would be interesting to know. I would like to know that. That would cause me to, oh, really? Because otherwise it's not a big deal to me. It's like that scene in Jaws, like, with the mayor when he's there. You yell barracuda, everyone says, oh, what? But you yell shark, we got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July. In this case, it's like you yell B-21 Raider, people like me say, oh, what? You yell aliens from outer space flying around and flying saucers, then you got a panic on your hands on the 4th of July. That's the difference there. I'm more excited about the extraterrestrial aspects of this whole of flying objects rather than military objects that we create ourselves. I mean, it's interesting, but only to a certain degree. It's not as nearly as interesting to me as the reality that there's an extraterrestrial presence here, that our government knows about it, and they're keeping a secret what they know, and they're not sharing any information about what they know. And to me, that's more interesting. Aliens are more interesting than what Northrop Grumman has developed in the past 7 years. That's that's just how I am. I know there's people out there who are interested, equally in these things. Not me. I'm just not that kind of person.